Rovina, for the opportunity. To cut the long story short, I was defiled at the age of 8 by my uncle. I refer to him as my uncle because he was no longer friends, he was an uncle to me. I was very young. My mom was a single mother, and during the holidays she would send me to my uncle's place for holidays because she would have to go on to work. She had 4 of us at that time, and she had to divide us to stay with different relatives because it was difficult to put financial constraints on just one person to take care of your 4 kids. So she would divide us up, and I would go to my uncle, my little brother would go to my grandmother, my sister would go to my auntie, like, to make sure that we are all taken care of. And to her, that was a safe place for me to live because it was my uncle after all. My uncle was a young man, and they had an argument with the wife because he had cheated or something, and then she left me with him and my nephew. So when my cousin brother, he was about 6 months old. So by then my uncle had a cinema where they show movies, but it's more of a local setting. So him and his friends would go there, hang out, drink and stuff like that. And then they would come back home when they are drunk and passed out. And then it was only me and my cousin at home, and he was way younger than me. So I had to take care of him. And then my uncle's job was to bring food for me when he came back in the middle of the night or during the day if he had time. Or sometimes he would just send someone to bring the food. And that day he sent one of his friends. And he was not a stranger to me because I had seen him for so many times. He was, and whenever he would come visit, he would buy me sweets and biscuits, and and he would carry me because I was very little and very young, and I was always excited to see him. So when that day he came, I did not know that he had other intentions, and I was at home alone with my cousin. That's when he defiled me. I was scared and alone, and I always tell people that maybe I would have said something then, but I also didn't even know how to describe what had happened. If I was willing to tell my mom, I didn't know what to tell her because I didn't even know what sex was. I didn't know how to describe it. And because he threatened my life, I chose to keep quiet. But eventually, they had an accident with my uncle because they were very close friends. So one time when they were out drinking and they were going back home, they had an accident and they passed away. We were at boarding school and they picked us from school to go attend my uncle's burial, and that's when we found out that they had passed away. So they told us to go and attend the burial. So when we got there, I realized that he had also passed on. So as other people were mourning, I was happy. Because in my heart, I told myself, he cannot hurt me anymore. And I was able I was actually laughing and smiling. And then my sister asked me, it's not nice for people to be mourning and you're laughing. And that's when, out of anger, out of relief, I just told her, that man raped me. And by then I was old enough to actually describe it. And that's when everyone now knew what had happened. I did not plan to tell them. It was just in a moment where I actually burst out and said something. And that's when my mom took me to the hospital for checkup, and I was put on medication, but I was not disclosed to immediately. So my counselor was Madam Asia, our ED that you've all seen, and she counseled me, and I started to live again as a person. I started to put the other thing behind me. So as I was trying to move on, then I was disclosed to that I was also infected with HIV. So I told myself, I was trying, like I thought I was done with this whole thing. I had put it behind me. I was ready to move on and probably never speak of it again. And then I'm being told that, you know what? Oh, he did not only rape you, he left a mark somewhere. So it was really, really devastating again. And I had to relive the whole scenario in my head and ask myself, even where he is in the grave, he can still hurt me. So it was difficult. But again, with her constant talking and counseling and being with people that, you know, are probably going through the same thing that you are, it gave me the strength to get back on my feet. And, you know, she always told me, you can be anyone, it doesn't matter. So that pushed me to be the person that I am today. And then when I graduated, I asked myself that I had my mom, I had my family, I had my counselors, but there are people that don't even have that. And despite having all people around me and encouraging me, it was still very difficult to move on. So how about people that have no one to talk to, or cannot even go out, cannot even say what happened to actually get help or medication or anything like that. And then the person that hurt me was very close to me, so there are other people that are actually going through the same thing. So it pushed me to just go out and tell my story and call out whoever is going through the same thing, that I am willing to listen. If no one else is, I am willing to listen. I'm not going to give you a car or a house, but I'm willing to listen for you to get this off your shoulders. So that is how I started my journey. Personally, I just tell my story, and then whoever can relate or come to me and be able to say something and feel relieved, it really empowers me more and more. Yeah, thank you.